Hey everybody, my name is John DePietro, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this really super special edition of My Life with Kenny Rogers. But first, I want to tell you one thing to set all your fears aside. We're not going to talk about my life with Kenny Rogers, but we're going to talk about the life of our special guest, Mr. T. Graham Brown, who did over 200 shows with Kenny. We're going to be with him in just a second, but first we want to tell you that this is one of a series of videos we're doing on the life and times of Kenny Rogers. And if you like them, just and you want to get them all, just down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, just hit that subscribe button, and then a little bell will pop up. Hit the bell, and that means every time we do a new one, and we've got 30 done, we've got 35 more scheduled, you will get a alert, and you'll get it before everybody else. Remember, this special offer is not available in stores. But speaking of special, we have a special guest, and I got to know this man. Man, it's got to be 30 years ago when you were working with Kenny. And T. Graham Brown, welcome to a show about you.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. And I love the way you say T. Graham Brown. That's nice.
Like, you know, it has a little more.
Go ahead.
Has a little more pizzazz to it than just, well, here we want to talk to T. Graham Brown.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like that dude, Let's Get Ready to Rumble guy. I can't remember.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Michael Buffer.
Yeah, I did a show with him one time.
You did?
At the Atlanta Falcons game. I remember Alan Jackson, Travis Tritt. There was a bunch of Georgia boys there.
Georgia boys, right.
Luther King III was there, and that guy announced us that way, you know.
So, oh, that's right. Let's get ready to roll. I know he is amazing. Now you see him on those MMA things, those where they kick each other in the face. And
Sheila won't let me watch those shows. Hey, so you know, man, I had been doing honky tonks, you know, bars. I started singing in Athens, Georgia when I was going to the University of Georgia. So I had played these smaller places all my life. And then I moved to Nashville and kicked around doing demos, and first one thing and then another. And then I finally got signed to Capitol Records, and they put out a song called I Tell It Like It Used to Be, and it was a hit. So all of a sudden I was signed to William Morris, and they put me out on the road with Kenny Rogers. My manager was C.K. Spurlock.
Oh, C.K., okay.
You remember C.K., yep. And C.K. was the promoter
for the Kenny show.
Kenny shows.
Yep.
So that's basically how I got that gig, is C.K. put me on that tour. So I had never, man, I'm telling you, I had never played any nice places in my life. And they threw me to the Lions, but I thought I handled it pretty well. The first thing we did was the Westbury Music Fair.
Oh, in the round.
In the round. I'd never been in a place like that. I'd never opened for Kenny Rogers. I'd never been on that professional of a level. And I remember I just went for it, and it was a great feeling. I kind of conquered my fear that first show. It really turned out great, and I was off to the races as far as being with Kenny. It was just wonderful.
Right. Now, did you have your band on stage?
Yes.
Yeah, because when Kenny does Westbury, he keeps the band was in the pit. And did the stage rotate, do you recall?
Yeah, oh yeah. The stage rotated, and I'm pretty sure that our stuff was on stage, and then in between they struck.
They had to take it off.
Yeah, they took our stuff off because we wouldn't have been in the pit, because that's what they were using.
Where the groove thing, yeah. And Kenny tells funny stories about doing those in the round things where once, you come on and, you're in section 12 or whatever it is. And then the thing rotates and then rotates back. And he tells the story of a lady who got up to go to the bathroom for a particular reason. And, she said, okay, I'm facing Kenny. Then she came back 5 minutes later, and Kenny's facing the other way. So she's 4 sections over, yelling for her husband. I know Kenny was right in front of me when I left, and then the stage turned around. So
Good.
you really went from the smoky honky tonk with the they could probably smoke in those buildings then, and the beer spelled all over the floor, to Westbury, Long Island, which is one of the premier smaller venues in the entire United States.
Yeah, man. And then we played every major arena in North America back then. A lot of them are gone now. And this was before football stadium shows,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
I don't think anybody, or hardly anybody, was, because Kenny was pretty much the biggest thing on the planet, you know.
Yep.
And the production was awesome, and it was always top notch. He had a great chef or team of chefs that would travel. He let us eat with everybody else. You know, he treated us great.
So there wasn't anything like, you're the opening act, stay away from
Oh,
my guys.
no, not at all. Not at all. That was one of the really cool things about it. He treated us just like regular guys, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to talk to him, he wouldn't shoo you away and say, "Go away, kid, don't bother me," or any of that kind of stuff. He was, he was nice.
Yeah,
really.
Well,
nice.
You know what? I think it's important that our audience be aware of the fact that you were not like an overnight sensation, but you were singing. You were making a living singing jingles.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I did a little research, and I saw McDonald's, KFC, Hardee's, Taco Bell, Budweiser, Coors, Stroh's, Dr. Pepper, and Mountain Dew, to name just a few.
Yeah.
That's one hell of a diet, T. Graham Brown.
Yeah. Well, I was the guy, you know, and I did Coca-Cola and 7-Up, and I did, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. I did that for 7 years, and I did Harris Casinos. I was the guy. If anybody wanted a raspy sounding guy, I got the call.
You got the call.
What was really fun was I sang a couple of Taco Bell jingles, and then they wanted me to try out to be the guy on camera. And when we were playing in Lake Tahoe, and I remember I think it was Tahoe or Reno, and at John Esquaga's Nugget, I remember after the show, I got in a plane, flew to LA, got up, did this commercial out in the middle of a highway somewhere, and they flew me back, and I walked right in time for the show that night, and they looked at it and decided they liked it, and so I was the guy. So then after that, I did all the on-camera stuff, which was really a blast. I mean, they treated me like a king and put me up at the Four Seasons in LA, and I could sign for, I just went nuts too. I could sign for
all you could eat KFC and burgers.
Oh, that was Dom Perignon every night.
Oh, that's so funny.
It was funny.
That's so funny. So, didn't you, if I recall correctly, when I saw you doing the Kenny shows, didn't you do a little medley?
I might have.
Right? I think we did a little medley of your commercials.
I might have done that. You know what? I think I was doing that. Somebody suggested that I do that. I don't know who it was. And I remember we played in Kansas City, and it was a big old crowd. And the reviews came out the next day. And I used to always read my reviews back then. I don't really care about them now, but it was just a great review. And then at the end, and the guy said, "Boy, it was a great show other than that stupid segment he did singing his commercials." And then I went, "Oh, well, I better quit doing that. If it's stupid, I don't want to be doing it."
Oh, boy. That's so funny. That's so funny. So, you know, Hell or High Water, Don't Go to Strangers, Darlene, all #1 hits. When you're singing in the bars back in Georgia or right outside campus, did you ever have a dream of picking up Billboard or whatever the chart was and seeing your name up top? Or did you dream that, which made you work hard enough to get there?
I worked really hard. I always believed I would do something, but I don't think I ever took it that far of, thinking, "Oh, wow, I'm going to be #1 in Billboard one day." I think my whole deal was if I could just get a record that was played on a radio station in anywhere one time, then that would be a miracle. So yeah, to have I've had a wonderful career. I didn't have as you know, big long string of number ones like Kenny had or other people have, but I had a great career and I'm still having fun. I had a lot of hits and I can still go out and work, and I'm so thankful for the life I've had. I mean, I've had my ups and downs as far as drinking and drugs and bipolar and all that stuff. But Sheila and I have gotten through it. We've been together 42 years, and we're having more fun now than we've ever had. We're not out there chasing a hit and having to visit radio stations every day. You know, it's just, you know, I'm 65 years old, might as well say 66. And we're just, you know, if there's something we don't want to do, we don't do it. And we're in a really, really good place in our lives. And I'm very thankful that I'm still standing.
Yeah. So looking back on those Kenny shows, was there any one thing that you grabbed from the whole environment that you said, you know what, this is the way to do it?
Wow. Well, he did the same show. I don't have the discipline.
Virtually word for word.
Yeah. He knew what worked and he stuck with it. And it was virtually word for word. But, buddy, it worked. And, I mean, he was a master at it. I'm so flighty, it's hard for me to do that. But Kenny had it going on, and we played in the round a lot. You know, he would set up if we were playing in a big arena, you know, we hardly ever had a proscenium stage. It was always in the round.
Yep.
There was a round stage in the middle of the floor, which I really loved. And one of the things I absolutely loved was, you know, he had that, I called it his astronaut box. You know, it had like an astronaut seat built into this box, so that
where they rolled him out.
Yeah. So between my show and his show, all the equipment boxers are rolling back and forth, and the crowds, you know, the lights are up and the crowds are seeing everything moved around and all this. And then when the lights go down, they put a spotlight over at one of the corridors.
Yep.
You know, everybody's looking at the spotlight.
Yep.
And all of a sudden Kenny starts singing and he's right in the middle of the room. But what was so cool is he would get in that silly thing. Actually, it wasn't silly. It was very cool. And it was like an astronaut chair in there.
Right.
Something.
It was like all styrofoam.
Yeah, they would put him in that box and roll him in through the hole in the stage, and then all of a sudden he magically appears, and the crowd just would go nuts every time.
How did he do that? How did he do that?
Exactly. It was like magic, and it really was like magic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, the funny thing that with that particular story, I was down in Myrtle Beach 5 or 6 years ago, and I was talking to somebody that ran a campground down there, and somehow I said, you know, does Kenny Rogers ever appear up at that theater in Myrtle Beach? And the guy said, oh, funny you should bring Kenny Rogers up. I used to work for him about 15 years ago. Now, I had worked with him from 1982 to 2017, so I pretty much knew everybody, including most of the opening acts, etc. And I said, you know, what did you do? You know, because his name didn't ring a bell. He said, I was on the crew. He said, I was the guy that put him in this box and rolled him out to the stage. And he said, we had to time it just right because there was a couple of holes in it, but he couldn't stay in it for that long. And he said, we had to make sure that all the cables, he wasn't going over the cables and bumping his head. And I saw that box, and it's a low box, right? I mean, he's got to almost lie down in it. But
that was a great thing. And that guy had a very important job.
He did. He did. Because if he started rolling the wrong box or whatever it was kind of crazy. You know,
I was in New York City in, I guess it was January, And I ran into Chubby Checker, of all people. And I didn't know if he would remember me or not. And I said, man, my name's T. Graham Brown. And he immediately remembered me and remembered that Kenny Rogers had introduced us at one of the shows. And I said, hey, man, do you still have that red 911 Porsche of yours? And he took out his billfold, showed me a picture of it. He still got that car. So you would get to meet people like that around Kenny. You know, he had friends coming in and out and stopping by and saying hello. And so it was really a parade of cool people. Mm. And then one of the things that I just love, best memories are the middle acts.
That's what I was going to say. You were on level 3, right?
Yeah, I would come on first, and then there would be a middle act. Not all the time.
Yeah. But you 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, it'd be like Lee Greenwood or Ronnie Millsap or Barbara Mandrell maybe, or Reba maybe. Eddie Rabbit, I remember. I miss Eddie Rabbit, was so nice. But there were a lot of those middle acts that I got to hang out with, and so I got to know a lot of people through Kenny. And he just always did things first class. You know, he was just that. He knew how to be a star. I know that, buddy. I mean, he lived well, and I remember one night. My mom and daddy are farmers down in Georgia, in North Georgia, and we have a family farm that's about 11 miles maybe from where Kenny's place was, where the golf course was, and you know, all that. So he would say, "Hey man, do you want to go home tonight?" And I say, "Yeah." And he would fly his jet to Athens, Georgia, and that was the only place I think could land. And then the farms were like 30 miles out in the country. So I would have my mom and daddy there. They'd pick me up, and I'd go home and, you know, spend the night at the farm. And so it was cool, you know, to get to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. People don't realize that prior to the bus, when Kenny was doing the plane, he'd gone for 2-3 weeks at a time, then 2-3 weeks off. But generally, depending upon where they were, they did the show, and then once Islands in the Stream started, the van was ready to get him back to the airport. And sometimes, as his brother, I had his brother and sister on this morning on another segment just like this, they said they would be back in Georgia before the people who went to the show even got home.
Yeah.
But that was his thing, get home and then leave again at 4 or 5 o'clock the next night.
It was great, man. He knew how to. If you wanted to learn how to be a cool star, Kenny was a good person to study, because, like I said, man, he was the biggest thing on the planet. And then he and when there were shows, not all the time, but sometimes Dolly would come out, and man, those two, they would just, it was amazing. It was just, I had to pinch myself a lot of times being in those situations, just sold out, and just everything's top notch. Claire Brothers sound awesome. The whole production was great. And I would always admire his clothes, and he had a tractor trailer. If I remember right, and I'm pretty sure it's right, he had a tractor trailer for his clothes. It was like a giant closet, if I can remember right, because I remember he'd turn me loose in that thing every now and then.
Oh, is that right? He said, take what you want?
Yeah, I would admire a jacket he had on or something, and he would say, just go out there and get you some stuff, you know. So, and I still got a lot of stuff of his here at the house.
Well, what would you say now in show business, especially in the music business? There are a lot of people that latch on to you when you're starting to make it, but they're just looking at you for your cash, for your financial value. Kenny was kind of a mix between an artist when he was on stage and a business person when he was off stage. Do you recall other people that have that same rare quality to be able to do the stage thing and then do the payroll stuff? You know,
well, that's pretty rare. That's really rare. I mean, I have some friends who have been able to do things I was talking to Kix Brooks from Brooks and Dunn the other day, and he's got a very successful winery here in Nashville. And he's building a couple of venues out there to have shows. So there's a few people that go on and have nice businesses like that. But boy, Kenny sure was smart. He really was smart. I would listen to him. I just liked his style, man, the way he did things. And it seems that he always had, you know, I never ever heard of Kenny being down on his luck. You know, sometimes you'll see acts go up high and then come down and be down on their luck or something. Kenny, I think Kenny had that successful vibe all around him.
Looking at it today, looking at your career and Kenny's career, is it so much harder to get that today than it was then, or was it hard then and the circumstances are the same? Because it seems, especially in country, they go through people like water. They get one hit out of these kids and throw them out, and there's a new one coming in. Am I overreacting to that, or is that kind of the way it is?
I don't know, man. It's tough. I tell people that, you know, somebody will say, somebody will ask me that question. What's it like? What do you like about do you like today's music? And even if I don't like necessarily what's going on right now, I have to give a tip of my hat to anybody that can come to Nashville or in New York or LA or in whatever, I guess it would be whatever genre of music, and pull it off. It's tough to pull it off, man. And it's really
on the line.
And it's really tough to keep it going. You know, but it's a hard trick to pull off, man, to move. Not know, like I moved and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything about anything. And we just figured it out. And I would hate to have to be trying to make it today. I thought it was hard when we were coming along, but man, it's just scary because there's all the new stuff, all the new streaming platforms and just everything is different, you know, and you got to be really smart. There's so many different avenues to make money, you know, and you might only make 1,000th of a cent, but it all adds up. It's just a whole different ball game now, and I would be scared. I've got some people helping me wade through and navigate this stuff, but I wouldn't. Boy, I'm glad we came when we did. I'll say that.
Were you scared then, or were you too young to be scared?
Oh, I was too young to be scared. I was never scared. I was too stupid to be scared.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I didn't know any better. If I'd have sat down and thought about it, you know, I might have scared myself, but I just put my head down and just bulled my way through everything. It was like I think that I used just my force of will. I think I willed a lot of stuff, and I'm sure I made a lot of people mad with my, you know, the way I was. But
yeah.
I'm mellowed out now, and looking back, it was fun, man. I was in a good spot. I was a lucky guy. No, not very many people get to do what I got to do. I'm very happy. I'm very content.
I just had a great question, and I totally I know. I got it. During this COVID stuff, the live entertainment industry is strangled. It just can't be done. I mean, all these acts are off the road. Now the big acts still have money coming in from, I still say record sales, but what do they call them these days? DVDs and streaming. So they still got money coming in from commercial ventures, et cetera, et cetera. But don't you feel bad for the bus drivers, for the crews?
Oh yeah.
The guys that are up there hanging the lights every night.
It's awful. It's heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking. I mean, it's everybody. I mean, our whole year is gone. And like you said, you got bus drivers, bus mechanics, the bus garage, the bus leasing people, sound guys, production guys, booking agents, secretaries, you know, just on and on. It all trickles down, and it's just a mess. I'll be glad when it's over. I'm ready to go back to work, man.
Well, that's what I mean.
I've never sat around this long.
You said yesterday you were at a church doing some singing. Let me ask you this, regardless of whether you were there yesterday, but your burn in life is to sing. It's to be on stage, right? It's to entertain people.
Yeah, that's what I was put here for. I truly believe.
Now it's taken away from you. How much of a burn inside is there for you and your colleagues to get back to action?
Well, man, I got the best job in the world. I get to make people happy for a living, and I miss that. You know, I like to make people smile, and we've done a couple of cool things. You know, we did a Facebook show called Hats Off to the 80s and 90s, and I got some of my colleagues that had hits during the 80s and 90s. We did a thing. There was probably 5 of us on the show. You know, that thing's had almost 1 million views.
Is that right? What's it called?
It was free. And then there's this thing called the Telly Awards. I'd never heard of them, and there's some big deal. And we were up against Netflix and ABC and all these heavy duty players, and dang, we won one, man, for doing our little Facebook show in a buddy of mine's basement. It was
like that.
Yeah, and it was, so we've done some cool stuff.
Now, can you talk about that TV pilot you were working on the other day? Yeah.
There's a couple of guys that put this show together. It's called Name That Country Tune, and it's really fun. And Joe Bonzel from the Oak Ridge Boys, we shot the pilot of it the other day, and Joe was the host. And Lee Greenwood and Linda Davis and I were the contestants. And we had a blast hanging out and laughing. And we won money for our charities. They had gone in and we told them which charity we wanted each of us. And they went in and filmed like a minute, little film about it. And so it was funny. It was really funny. I was doing great, but I got stomped. Linda Davis stomped Lee Greenwood and I, and just stomped us.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, you mentioned all 4 of those names: Joe Bonzel, Lee Greenwood, you, and Linda, all people that have a long history with Kenny.
Exactly.
The Oaks go back to the 70s.
I know. I know. And
everybody had different color hair.
Exactly.
Except Linda.
Joe had an afro.
Right. Right, that's right. Joe had the afro. Did he bounce around on stage, or did he have to be stationary?
It was everything he could to stay sitting down on this. They had a stool for him. The boy fidgety. I know that.
That's not him. So you have another gig right now. You and I, you're on the other side of the microphone a lot. Talk about your SIRIUS gig. What is it still LiveWire, or has it got another name?
Yeah. No, it's a show called LiveWire, and it's on Prime Country, which is their channel that it's the 80s and 90s era of country. And that's why when we do these benefits, we call it Hats Off to the 80s and 90s. It kind of ties in, but it's, I just had this idea about playing live cuts from artists' live albums, and we call it LiveWire. So I have like 6 guests, and I'll play a couple of cuts from one of their live albums. I'll search the internet and find, you know, some artists might have 5 different live albums, so I'll go and find and pick what I like, and then like this, I do one a month, and they air it like 8 or 10 times a month.
Oh, one a month? That's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. And then I have a guest that's like an in-studio guest. This month is Winona Judd. I interviewed Lee Greenwood the other day, and I'm going to probably have him on in November because it's Veterans Day.
Okay.
And so I do that, man. It's fun. It's easy, and they let me do what I want to, and they let me pick who I want to and the songs that I like, and it's a lot of fun, and it's remarkable how many people listen to it. You know, I've had so much feedback. I didn't realize it was going to be that big of a deal, but it's really.
Hey, Lee Greenwood's got to be happy because there's a certain political candidate that walks out to his music every time he comes on stage, and whoever wrote that song is getting the check.
Yeah, well, Lee wrote it, you know.
Oh, Lee wrote it. Okay, so
Lee wrote it by himself.
And that's, so he doesn't have to share a penny with that.
No.
And that was what, 1984 or 5 or something like that?
Something like that, a long time. And then it's kind of just morphed into the alternate national anthem, you know. Yep. When it was a hit to start with. And then when 9/11 happened,
right,
it really came back big and took on a whole different meaning. And then it's doing it again. So it's really, you know, it's amazing. This is the reach of that song. I was in church yesterday morning. The church band, before I came up, sang God Bless the USA. And as soon as he started singing it, everybody in church stood up like it was the national anthem. So that song has had a long reach.
Yeah. Well, we're just about out of time. Give us your final thoughts on your life with Kenny Rogers.
Well, Kenny was a great guy. I'm better for being out there working with him. He was just a sweet man. He always had time for everybody. He treated me great. Like I said, he gave me clothes. He would let me ride his jet home, you know, to visit my folks. He treated our band great. His band and our band were like buddies. I mean, we all got along. It was one big happy family. Like I said, the chef always cooked great meals, and we were always included in that. There was no, hey, I'm better than you, or like I said, there was none of that, hey, go away, kid, you bother me kind of attitude. It was always welcoming, and I loved him very much, and he was very, very much loved by everybody.
Great. Hey, you know what? Kenny's band is reforming. They're getting back together again, and they got Don Gatlin's doing the Kenny stuff. And
cool.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? It's the actual band. It's Randy, Steve, Chuck, Mike, Brian, Gene Sisk, etc. Gene Siskel used to work for Eddie Rabbitt, but they had a bunch of dates scheduled. Again, you know, starting in June, going right through. And Don Gatlin is going to do the Kenny part. And I know they just.
Well, that ought to be pretty cool.
Yeah. They just taped a live stream. It sounds contradictory, but they taped the show that was they were supposed to be at a county fair up in Michigan, where Edgar Struble, Kenny's old music director, is from. And Edgar, they came down to Nashville, taped it all there, and then it live streamed up. And Linda came on and did a couple songs. And hey, so maybe when they're around, you can make a special guest appearance.
You doggone right, and I'll be there, buddy.
Come right to the middle of it. So anyway, our guest has been Mr. Want me to do it the same way?
I want you to.
Mr. T. Graham Brown. We want to thank him so much for spending his time with us. And everybody, if you like this, hit that button down there that says subscribe. We got a whole bunch more coming for you. And on behalf of T, we'll do it the third time, T. Graham Brown, this is John DePietro saying, let's go out in a blaze of glory.